A young couple sits in a car late at night, and they talk about their relationship. The guy named Hiratsuka explains that he never wanted anything serious and lets the girl called Chiemi know that he wants to end things between them. He opens the car door to signal her that she should leave and tells Chiemi to delete his number as he drives away. As Chiemi gets home, her sister Iri greets her and tells her that a rat is running around above her big sister's room. In her room, she hears the rat and angrily hits the roof as she complains that her dad should set up rat traps. Chiemi tells Iri that she needs to get some sleep and wishes her a good night. She looks at old photos with her boyfriend Hiratsuka, happy and smiling. She had way shorter hair back then. Chiemi lights up a cigarette and starts coughing, as if she was just trying to smoke to be like her boyfriend. She remembers the good old times when he took her to the ocean and told her to grow her hair out. The feelings overwhelm her, and she starts crying until she falls asleep. The next morning, she gets up and notices something unusual in her hair. It's a rat that died inside of it. She has had enough of the long hair, and as she washes it she decides to cut it short once and for all. She asks Iri to get her a pair of scissors and cut her hair. Iri runs downstairs and looks for the scissors. Suddenly, she hears screaming and runs to Chiemi to see what happened. It's Chiemi, lying on the floor with her body full of blood. Her head is missing, and the wall is painted like strands of hair with the blood. A long time later Hiratsuka gets a phone call late at night. It sounds like teeth grinding and takes it for a prank, as though Chiemi used to make such sounds when she grinded her teeth. He looks at his new girlfriend as the phone rings once more. Chiemi's dad is looking at the shrine to remember her as Iri comes and asks him where the flashlight is. She wants to go to the attic as she thinks that one of the rats got caught in the traps. Her father insists on going up there instead and makes his way in there. As Iri wonders why it takes him so long, she decides to go look after her father. As Iri looks at him, she notices a shocked expression on her father. She shakes her father and begs for him to say something, but he just drops the flashlight, as he isn't alive anymore. Iri looks at where the light shines and sees Chiemi's head, tied to the attic's roof with her hair. Iri is in shock and tries to get her sister's head down, but only manages to cut her hands. Iri goes to grab scissors as Chiemi's hair suddenly starts moving. It opens Chiemi's eyes and her mouth as if it wanted to make an expression. The head starts moving with the hair as if it was alive, and it makes its way outside. Iri is shocked and realizes that this isn't her sister anymore, it's the hair that is alive. Hiratsuka hangs from his roof, with hair on every part of his body. It slices his whole body apart. It is as if Chiemi's hair wanted to take revenge for her. A woman knocks on Kazuko's door and asks her to open up, because Kazuko might be hungry. But Kazuko mentions that she won't fall for this trick and just sits on the floor crying. What happened a month ago? A girl hangs from the roof. Her name is Terumi. The news report that it might have been deleting herself, but no goodbye note could be found at her place. She was a famous singer and has apparently been stressed in the industry. Her friend and fans everywhere are crying for the loss. Tiko cries as her friends console her. They wonder why she would unalive herself. Even Kazuko has no idea. Shiraishi, Terumi's boyfriend, gets accused by the schoolboys of driving Terumi to her decision by stressing her out. They are getting ready to punch him as Terumi's friends help him out by threatening to call the police. Shiraishi starts crying over the loss of his girlfriend. What happened 2 weeks ago? People at a talk show are discussing Terumi's unaliving and report that many people apparently saw her ghost. 2 eyewitnesses report to have seen her at around midnight in the park. They say that the ghost's head was absurdly enlarged and floating above the trees. An expert in this field claims that the many witnesses saw Terumi just because of the trauma of losing her, and that it's not a real ghost. Another talk show even has a drawing of one of the witnesses' sighting, mentioning that her head was almost severed by the time they got her down. The next day at Kazuko's school, the boys talk about the evidence photo of Terumi's ghost and mention that it must be fake. Kazuko complains to Shiraishi that everybody got over Terumi's death and just talks about the ghost. Shiraishi mentions that the ghost floats above his yard every night and that it even stares at him with hollow eyes. Kazuko doesn't quite believe him, and Shiraishi offers to contact her as soon as the ghost appears again. Kazuko is at home studying as she gets a phone call. It's Shiraishi. He tells her that the ghost showed up and that it's moving north really slowly. Kazuko runs to meet up with Shiraishi at the phone booth that he is calling from, but as she arrives, she can't find him. Kazuko looks around and sees it with her own eyes, the head, just mindlessly floating in the air. It takes a turn and floats to a tree. Shiraishi is on the tree, begging the ghost to not look at him like that. He doesn't notice the noose that goes around his neck. Kazuko screams for him to get down there, but Shiraishi slips and gets hanged. Kazuko tries to find a way to save him, but as she looks up, She sees the head of Shiraishi floating in the air. The two ghost heads kiss each other as Shiraishi's body dangles like a rag doll in the air. Kazuko can't believe what's happening and screams her lungs out. After a while Kazuko tries to tell her friends what happened but none of them believe her story. Kazuko insists that Terumi must have unalived the same way, by a kind of accident, but her friends just question her sanity. One of the girls points to the sky and asks what's floating there. Her friend mentions that it could be balloons for ads. But as they take a closer look, they see 4 heads with ropes dangling from them, just like Terumi's ghost. As the heads come closer, they notice that the floating heads look just like them. The girls get scared and duck, but 2 ropes reach around the girls' necks and strangle them. Kazuko and Jiro get up and run in a dark alley. The heads stare at them and try to get the noose around their necks. The neighbor looks outside because of all the screaming from the girls. He sees the heads and gets out his crossbow. He shoots the head that looks like Jiro, and it shrivels up and dies. The head of Kazuko floats away, all scared. Kazuko mentions that it must just be gas, and she's happy that there is a way to kill them. Just as they feel relieved, Jiro shrivels up like a raisin and dies. Kazuko screams and runs away from all the heads. There are many of them floating around now. They are everywhere in town, each for a person, even for Kazuko's parents and her brother. Kazuko's head ghost appears, and she quickly runs inside her home. What happened 5 days ago? A news reporter says that all of Japan is covered with these head ghosts, with the bodies of people hanging from them. Just as the reporter turns around, he sees his head floating towards him. It catches him by the neck and gives the reporter a ride in the air. Other news channels ask people to stay inside their homes and to not damage the heads in any way, as it kills the person correlated to that head. Kazuko watches the reports with her family, and they all listen to the tips from the reports, except her dad. He decides to go to work while thousands of heads float outside looking for people to kill. The family begs him not to go, but he insists that it's not dangerous if he makes it to the car fast enough. He goes outside and runs towards his car, but the head quickly ties the noose around his body and takes him away. The family cries for the loss and the son Yosuke gets angry at the heads. He decides to get some food as they will starve otherwise. Yosuke walks outside with an umbrella and waits for his head to appear. He throws the umbrella into the noose, rendering it useless, and runs away. What happened 3 days ago? Kazuko's mother suddenly walks outside and lets herself get hanged by the head designated to her. Present day. Kazuko is all alone now in her room. A female voice begs her to go outside. The voice mentions that Kazuko is the only one being stubborn about what's happening. It's apparently the head talking to her. Suddenly she hears knocks on the window. It's Yosuke saying that he brought food and to open the window quickly. She walks over and opens up, happy that her brother is still alive. As she looks outside she sees the floating body of Yosuke. It thanks her and Kazuko's head appears. The head dangles the noose right in front of her. As Kazuko looks through it, we see a young boy with a shovel. He digs in the earth until he hits something. He apologizes and asks if it hurt. It's a head in the earth that opens its eyes as if alive. Later, the boy called Oshikiri visits the local library. Some guy bad-mouths him that he is a creepy loner destined to do something bad. Oshikiri ignores it and walks to the table to read his book. He overhears the people next to him talking about a strange presence. One of the guys is feeling. He describes it as a person from an alternate dimension he can somehow feel. The girl asks if it's something like the Bermuda Triangle, and the guy agrees. They make their way to find the book about this topic and notice that Oshikiri is reading it. The guy asks if he can borrow the book and asks Oshikiri if he wants to join them, as Oshikiri is interested in these kinds of topics as well. The boy that had the strange feelings introduces himself as Kamiyama, the girl is Watanabe and the other guy is called Koizumi. The group decides to go eat something as they talk about this occult topic. Oshikiri mentions that he sometimes hears footsteps in his house when he is alone. The 3 friends want to hear these footsteps for themselves and ask Oshikiri if they can come to his place. Oshikiri accepts and leads them to his house. It looks like a creepy old castle. They all go in through the back door. As Oshikiri brings his friend some tea, Kamiyama mentions that he feels a weird presence here, as if someone else is present with them from an alternate universe. Kamiyama's theory is that there must be some intruder from another dimension that makes the footstep noises. Kamiyama is happy about finding such an interesting place and tells Oshikiri that they are friends now. Just as they were about to shake hands, the clock strikes midnight and a weird vibe fills the place. Suddenly, they hear the footsteps of the supposed dimensional intruder. They run downstairs to find the source of the footsteps. They look outside the window and notice a person that looks just like Oshikiri digging a hole in the yard. Kamiyama notices the corpse and mentions that the Oshikiri from another dimension must have killed someone and came to their dimension to bury the person, this way no one finds out about the murder. Oshikiri is angry and shouts at him from the other dimension that he is trespassing, but he just looks at Oshikiri and laughs as he fades away, leaving the corpse behind. They investigate the corpse and notice that it's Kamiyama from the other dimension. Kamiyama is unshaken and tries to think about this logically. Koizumi notices that there is more buried on the other side of the yard and quickly digs the place. It's Watanabe's and Koizumi's corpse inside. Oshikiri says that he would never do such a thing, and his friends believe him, as these were the actions of Oshikiri from an alternate dimension. They just wonder why the other Oshikiri became a serial killer and bury the corpses again. They dig the graves deeper, so the corpses are out of sight and out of mind. Later that night, we can see Oshikiri sitting on his bed, his eyes are wide and dead. And in the background, many footsteps can be heard. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for more.